I'm Maria Elena, and I've been sewing some of the blue wrap sleeping bags for the homeless and ran into some problems and found solutions, and I like to share those with you. One of the problems is broken needles. I went through a lot of needles until I started using the size 90 jean needles, and those hold up well. Any needle that you use for a long time is going to get dull. I have my old sharpening stone, but the big box stores sell these sharpening stones, and you don't need to use it a lot. Just do a few passes, get your tip sharp again, and then you can use one needle for a lot of bags. You'll be using a lot of elastic. So you can ask people to help you buy the elastic. You'll be running about a yard per bag. So something to think about. You're going to be using a lot of thread. I started buying white thread and then started using all my old spools of odd color yarn, my old fill bobbins, because you do use a lot of thread when you sew these. You're also measuring a lot. So I came up with a template, and the template shows you placement of elastic. It shows you the placement of the pocket, and I'll show you that on the bag. And on the back, there's a mark for cutting the elastic, 18 inches times 2 yard per bag. This is, of the 2 back pieces, this is the top. So you have the 2 end to end for the back and 2 end to end for the front. You'll be marking the back of the bag. Here I have a template, 20 inches, to mark the opening on the side of the bag, so it makes the bag easier to get into. So there's 20 inches, and then this is where you would sew this piece to the bottom of the back. And at that edge, I put my template, mark it with a pencil, and that'll tell you where to put the pocket. I usually sew the bottom and then the sides, but you'll get some pleats, and that's okay. So that's of the 4 pieces, this is the top of the back. So that piece I just showed you gets sewn here. The bottom of the back is where I'm putting my elastic. And I put this in the corner, and this is 5.5 inches from the edge, and this is the fold, 5.5 inches. I mark it, I pin the elastic, and then I baste it on so it's easier to sew the backs together. And for all my seams, I'm using these quilters pins. I bent a lot of pins, and I jabbed myself a lot because this fabric's so stiff. So these bent quilters pins work really well. So that's the large bag. With all of them, when you get these blue wraps, they're gonna have tape on it, and you'll get pleats, and that makes it hard to sew a straight seam. So just get your scissors, cut it. If you pull the tape off, some of the bags are gonna come with it, and it'll weaken the fabric, so don't do that. All right, so here we have the small bag. We're using the 3x3 blue wraps. And yep, I have a template for the small bag. The pocket will be closer to the edge because the whole bag is narrower. 6 inches from the bottom, which is where you sew the bottom piece to. Again, your quilter's pins. And you also mark the 20 inches down. I mark it with a pen. You can use a clip, whatever. And those are the markings for the top of the back. So still working on the back of the bag. This is the bottom. And we do the same thing as we did with the big bag. Mark the placement of your elastic. Since the bag is narrower, there'll be less space here. Cut your elastic, and I'm making the elastic for the small bag 15 inches. 2 pieces, so almost a yard. Pin them on, baste them, and then it'll be easier to sew that bottom seam. These are awkward to sew, so having a little folding table, anything to catch the fabric as you sew it, will make it easier to control your seams. The video that I watched for instructions how to sew these talked about rolling your bags as quilters do to manage large pieces. I found that shifted these 2 layers too much. So what I'm doing is I pleat them like an accordion, so you shift it one way and the other and they stay together better. And I use binder clips to hold this together because I just couldn't get the pleats to stay down. I think that's about it. When you go to sew it, make sure that your folds are narrow enough so that you can fit your folded fabric under the arm of your sewing machine and sew the seam, and as you sew it, it'll feed onto the card table and you'll be able to control your piece. I'm sewing with number 3 stitch length. 1, because it goes faster, and 2, because you're piercing the fabric less times. That's pretty much it. Thank you.